Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! I-U! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. As you can see, I am the Coach Shannon Griffith, and I am guest hosting today as Jim is out at the Hoosier football complex today as they kick off fall camp with their first on-field camp practice today. It will be what I call in the days is running around in their underwear because they only can have helmets as they have a acclimation period where they have to build up to the full padded practice. And it's over a 5-day period. And the first day is actually a helmets only type of practice. So those type of practices, everybody is a All-American and NFL prospect because you can't hit anybody. So Jim is out there with others from the Hoosier.com as well on this hot, and I mean going to be hot hump day here in the state of Indiana. Hope you all are doing well. I appreciate all of you joining us here this morning. And again, you can make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe on all the different avenues of YouTube and Facebook and all the other aspects of finding the show. Also like to thank each and every one of you that stopped by the Hoosier Tailgate last week as we discussed the defining 3 games that I believe are going to have a huge impact on the Hoosier season, as well as their college football prospects. We'll maybe dive into that a little bit later, having some adjustments to the schedule today, as we were hoping Allie Sanzenbacher was going to be able to join us again today from the Hoosier Ticket Project. Unfortunately, will not be able to join. But we'll get Jim. He'll step in here at some point in time to maybe preview what is all occurring out there at the stadium today. And hopefully prior to the end of the show, we'll get him back out and on to give us a full breakdown of today's events as they get the camp kicked off and running. And before you know it, we will be seeing Old Dominion in Memorial Stadium for the start of the 2025 season. As Coach Cignetti likes to say, the talking season is over. It's now all about production and what you put on the field and tape each and every day. That makes what and who you are in terms of wins and losses. It all starts today, and all living to that standard. And for all the coaches out there that maybe coached high school ball, or maybe some of you got in a college ball at one point in time, and speaking for myself, this was like Christmas Day when the season was kicking off and you're getting out there on the field for the first time with all your different new toys, recruits and all, and you couldn't wait to see what they brought to the table for you. And it was one of those things that was beautiful. It's a beautiful day. And speaking of Mr. Jim Coyle, can you hear us okay out there on a hot and sunny hump day at Memorial Stadium, ready to kick off the 2025 fall camp? And I was just saying, Jim, when I was coaching, today was like Christmas Day, because you got to see all the different new shiny new toys in terms
now,
of the players.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you perfectly.
Perfect. Well, then I don't have to do anything different. Yeah, it's the first thing I thought of, and yeah, I'm not Al Bundy, but so I didn't play in college, but it doesn't matter. I remember high school, and I don't care how long ago it's been, I will never forget 2-a-day practices. This August heat and humidity, plus I was down in southern Indiana, close to the river in the Ohio River Valley, and it just seemed like it laid there like a blanket. Yep. But that's part of making Mark toughening you up, and you can you try to stay in shape through the summer and all that, but you can't mimic this. Getting the helmet on, starting putting the weight on, start carrying that stuff around, because now you've got to make your moves with all that on. And so it's an acclimation, but it's a quick acclimation, 30 days until their first game. So, and we were talking about this before we came on. We'll talk about this more. You sent me an article that's in USA Today about talking about Indiana and their scheduling still. I am so sick and tired of hearing about Indiana's schedule. And it's not because I'm biased. I think these people are idiots. For one thing, they want to clamor about their three non-con games because they don't play a Power 4 non. I don't care who they play in the non-conference right now. They play 9 conference games, unlike the ACC, unlike the SEC. Now, the SEC may add a tougher game for one of those, but they still have 3 non-con games that are cream puffs. So right. I don't care. It's stupid. On top of that, right now, Indiana has 3 top 10 teams on their schedule, 2 of which are on the road. So people that are doing that stuff, shut up. Just shut up. And I told Coach earlier, I am going to do my best to work to get to find the writer of that article and see if we can get him on, because I would love to have that debate.
Well, his name is Blake Topmeyer from USA Today, disguised as a USA Today sports writer, because he has deep SEC ties in his background journalistically and media-wise. It was an article that was out on July the 28th, and the title, if anybody wants to look it up, or if I can post it in the comment section, I will. It says Indiana ups ante on pathetic schedule. Will college football playoff committee clap back? And the whole take of the article, as you had discussed there in your synopsis of that, is essentially he was ridiculing Indiana for dropping Virginia and Louisville.
Who sucks?
Yeah, Louisville a couple years ago, and discussing how that makes their argument or case, resume, however you're going to look at it, that much weaker now, and the playoff committee should hold them responsible for how they schedule their non-conference. Well, first and foremost, the non-conference means absolutely nothing when it comes to the college football playoffs.
No.
Is it there on the resume? Sure, it's there. Does it have a bearing one way or the other? No. Look at Notre Dame last year, who got beat by Northern Illinois
at home,
right? and Northern Illinois was a.
It's this is just a guy selling papers.
Yeah, no
This
question.
will have no bearing on the CFP. If Indiana beats Illinois right now, a top 10 team by someone, we need to look up the USA Today's top 25 if they have one out yet. If they beat Illinois, a top 10 team right now by a lot of people, then either Oregon or Penn State or played them close, and they win at Iowa, all the home games, it's not relevant.
Yeah.
It's just not relevant. So it's nothing to worry about. It's just it puts a bad perception in other people's heads because it's skewed and it's not really accurate. It is. They're not comparing apples to apples. These are apples and oranges you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
But I can tell. I've said this day after day. The SEC will go to 9 games, and all of this crap will stop because I promise you, once they go to 9 games, very few teams will schedule an out of conference P4 team unless that becomes something that is decided between the conferences to say, all right, now we're all at 9 games. But everyone needs to schedule at least one non-con P4 team. If they come to that agreement, great, do that. Indiana could do that in the future. What is this? They won't have one for the 25 and 26 season. That leaves 27 and 28, not one on the schedule. 29, they have Notre Dame and 30. So that will be even less of an issue then. Then Indiana's going to be playing 9 Big Ten games and Notre Dame. So, it's just fodder for some people to talk about.
Yeah, and like you said, it's the bottom line is they don't the SEC and those in the media world that covers the different aspects of conferences, whether ACC or Big 12 or whoever, didn't like the response that Cignetti gave when he basically said we adopted the philosophical approach of the Southeastern Conference. That's essentially what he said. And they didn't like that. And therefore, their brothers in arms in the media are going to do everything they can to take shots again at Indiana and bring up a dead horse from last year, because everybody now is at least beat on that horse at least once.
They've got, it's like there's nothing else to talk about. I mean, why are they talking about how many SEC teams play a P4 non-con team, but is a weak one, and then look at their other 3 games? At least in the article, he did talk about the SEC protecting their subdivision games like their gold medallions.
Mm-hmm.
But he just, so he's not making the connection, unfortunately, between the two. So who cares? That's enough
it's
about
a good
that.
Article. It's that time of year where the debating will continue with the fans and the media sphere when it comes to the college football playoffs rankings, if and when they come out in terms of top 25 rankings. USA Today's has not come out as of yet, just to let you know, because I believe they have a coach's ranking. But anyway,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So the bottom line is like I said earlier, prior to you jumping on, the talking season is over, as Coach Cignetti would say. It is over, done with, and in the rear view mirror, because everything that starts today is what we call racking practices up to make yourself better each and every day, and therefore preparing for that first contest that is approaching fastly, even though we're just kicking off day one in their jerseys and helmets. So
I can hear the pads. I can hear the sleds being popped right now. I'm up on. Right, of course, you can see right behind me is the great George Taliaferro. So I'm up here waiting for us to get down there. We get 15 minutes after the hour. We'll get to go down.
Oh, that'd be great.
And So I'm looking forward to that. But I can hear the sleds getting popped right now, baby. Whoo! That brings back memories too. Every time. It's like certain sounds, certain feels, certain smells take you back. You're like, oh my, here I am back at that time of year. But something not mentioned in that article that I was reading yesterday from the Football Writers Association of America, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but on defense, Indiana is one of the few teams in the country that has 3 All-Americans returning on defense. That might be a list of around 2, because there's not that many teams that had 3 All-Americans returning, period. So Indiana, their defense that was so good last year, 3 All-Americans returning. I've talked about this. Anchors, defensive line, linebacker, defensive backfield. I guarantee you nobody has that. Nobody in America has that. These are top. Those are guys that are all going to be playing next year on Sundays. And I'm talking about D'Angelo Pons, obviously Aiden Fisher, and Mikal Kamara. Those guys will be playing in the NFL next year. So that's the kind of defense Indiana is going to be anchored by. And we've seen what Brian Haynes has done already, and that's going to get better. I think this offense is going to get better. I keep saying that. I'm juiced about getting to cover this winning team this year, man.
Well, and like I said, it's going to be a hot one today. Now they're in the morning hours, which makes it a little nicer when it comes to.
Has to be. You could not really. It wouldn't serve purpose to do this at noon or later. You're only looking for trouble. A and B. While I get of stress, you want to stress the mind. You want to stress the body. You want to get it to the point to where when you're in those critical fourth quarter moments, you're used to that. You can also go too far and not even know you're going too far, because bodies react differently. This heat and the humidity, it's brutal. And then you add the probably 25 pounds of equipment on top of that with the helmet that keeps all that heat in. Yeah, you could probably start going the opposite direction of getting positive things out of that. So, yeah, right now they have got to get everything together as a team. The offenses have already been implemented. We know that they've been working. How much work goes in prior to the opening of fall camp?
Well, it goes all in through the summer and just starts, from the spring into spring, all through the summer months. The kids have their players ran practices or 7-on-7s that they will do on a almost everyday basis, except probably on Fridays. And then whatever they do in terms of meetings, players wise, watching film and getting notification of playbook install and things of that nature. So, outside of the guys that are just joining the program as rookies, 95% of the team already has the playbook down as it pertains to
and there are very few freshmen that'll be impacting the game, this team. They're behind as far as learning, so they'll have to catch up. And before I get, how many minutes before the hour are we right now?
We're right there we're about 5 after. I was just going to step in and say we probably need to take a
let's take a quick break, because I've got so much time before I've got to get out. But we'll take a quick break. Coach Griff has got the wheel today. I'm Jim Coyle. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you live from Indiana's football fall camp opening day of practice. Back with more right after this.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com. Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios mobile unit. Coach Griff has got the pill today, baby, taking the wheel. Jim Coyle with you out live from Indiana football's first fall camp, as we'll be getting to view some practice, watch a little bit. Don't get to see everything, but we'll be in there for about a half hour. Then we'll meet with Coach Cignetti after that. And then today also at the first open basketball practice in I don't know. I think Tom Crean may have done it a couple times. Other than that, 50 years I know it wasn't going on, and before that probably not either. But looking forward to that as Indiana men's basketball team. They leave for Puerto Rico, San Juan next Monday or Tuesday. I forget the date. I think it's Monday that they will leave out. It's the 5th. But they'll have 3 games down there. So lots going on. The Colts are their camp is going. I'd like to get out there. Coach, we need to do a show from Colts camp one day. Get up there and see what's going on there as well. So it's just hard to make it all happen, brother. It's just so much going on. It's like when I was at the track the other day at the Brickyard 400, I got a ton of great interviews this year.
Yeah, you did.
It's partly because the access that you're given by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's incredible because it allows us to do that kind of thing. That's old school stuff there. I'm just running around. I see guys after the race and I'm grabbing them. I got Coach Gibbs. I got Denny Hamlin. I got Blaney, Chase Briscoe, trying to think, Shane Van Gisbergen. And all of that right after the race and just running around to do that. And I saw others go by that I couldn't get because I couldn't do it. But the access, that's amazing. It is so incredible for us because it allows us to bring better content before the race access. We're down on the track right up until it's time to get things going. Immediately afterwards, back down on the track. But good God, was it hot.
Oh, man.
Mercy, my, oh, me. But, hey, better than digging ditches, right?
That's right. Yeah, kind of the old school throwback to how the media was given pretty much all access. That's pretty well tradition there. It seems like it Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where you get that opportunity to get right up with the different drivers and team owners and things of that matter. But yeah, you got a lot of great interviews and ended up being a great, pretty good race. Chase Briscoe, of course, didn't come through other than the two.
Oh, they got screwed on a pit stop, man. In stage 2 there, he was coming into the pits, was 30 yards from the white line that if you cross it, you're in. and his crew chief was yelling at him, no, no, no. And he was able to dart out and barely missed going in because a caution had come out. And if a caution comes out before you go into the pits, the pits are closed at that moment. So that would have put him a lap down. But it threw him off schedule because he lost all that track position, couldn't regain it. It is what it is. Hey, I don't want to forget also, yesterday, Josh Bruick from the Hoosier Ticket Project joined us, and they have their annual Giving Day today. It's the only day that they do that, and this is a worthy cause. Hoosier Ticket Project, for those of you that don't know, works to get tickets to give to kids and families that have never gone to a game, may not have the means to go to a game, whether it's football or basketball now. They used to have football tickets probably thrown at them. That's not going to be the case now. So they have to do these giving days. And Allie Sanzenbacher gave me an update before it came on. They were over $12,000. They have a goal of 20. So if you want to help them out, help the kids out, help these families out, just go to HoosierTicketProject.org, and you should be able to navigate your way to the giving section from there. But don't forget about that. The Hoosier Ticket Project taking care of things. Keep me updated on when we get to about 14 minutes past the hour, because I've got a bolt at that time.
Yep. Well, you're about T-minus 3 minutes on that. Before you go anyway, let's touch on a little bit of the Colts. The Anthony Richardson versus Daniel Jones quarterback competition has heated up.
Has it?
Yeah. Thus far, though, it seems like
I thought this was going to be Daniel Jones all the way.
Yeah. Well, it would appear to me, and from reports out of the camp aspect, that Richardson has responded to that competition. And
that's what you have to see. I mean, if you didn't, you're going to be really worried, especially when we're talking about a guy who showed a complete lack of professionalism last year when he tapped out of that game and hasn't performed up to this point. So there's nothing. I've never seen. The one thing I see from pro athletes is they realize that this is a profession. It's not just a sport, and it's a real job, but there's also professionalism that goes with this. And every one of those guys that give their all, boy, I can't even imagine what the thoughts were by his offensive line, much less his entire team when he tapped out last year, because that's
wasn't
not
pleasant.
good.
Wasn't pleasant. The fact that he was kind of a rookie in that regard, it gave him a slight, but thus far he has taken command of acting as if in practice, and the way he's responded as QB1 with this competition with Daniel Jones. Now, what Steichen has done is give each other equal opportunity with the first offense, and that's the best way to handle it, and let them go do their thing. And I'm sure they're evaluating every little bit of practice A to Z, as we know that Anthony Richardson has a really lively arm, but accuracy has always been his problem, dating back to just the 18 college games he played at Florida. And so that's going to be an interesting
this was just a bad draft pick. I don't care if he ends up being good 3 years from now. It will have taken 6 years. You don't have 6 years for a quarterback to develop. They don't have to be like right now. They deserve some growth. Like Michael Penix, he got to watch it grow, then came and stepped in. But it was just a bad draft pick, and this is just a matter of time for Chris Ballard, in my opinion. But I know it's time for me to get going. Don't forget to take your break, and I'll be back a little later.
We will do that, sir. We'll look forward to getting you back and getting that recap of day one at Memorial Stadium in the Indiana Hoosiers, kicking off fall camp. We're going to step aside, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about these Colts. But right here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio, I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith. We'll be back right after this message.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So, no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here at the Hard Truth Studios, the North Edition of the Hard Truth Studios. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith. We just got done with Jim Coyle out at Memorial Stadium as the Indiana Hoosiers kick off the 2025 fall camp season today with a very light practice, I would guess you could call it that, with just their helmets and jerseys. But today is more of an organizational type of practice, making sure the young rookies understand where they're going, when they're going, and getting that down pat as you try to stay at 100 miles an hour on a quick and fast-paced practice. The days of kind of taking your time through a 2-hour practice that you may have been a part of back in the day, I would say, are long gone. It's all fast-paced, based on different periods of anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes max in length. And between those periods where bodies are moving around, you want a crisp and full speed pace. And Coach Cignetti will be definitely eyeballing that aspect of practice, the transitional aspects of practice, as they start to mold this 2025 team. As he discussed during Big Ten days, got a lot of really good pieces, a lot of pieces that he likes. Today is number one of putting all those pieces into a bowl and dashing in the ingredients for the coordinators, Brian Haynes and Coach Shanahan. We'll see what all happens, but today is that day that they start molding this 2025 team and facing Old Dominion here in a few weeks there in Indiana Memorial Stadium. New turf going down. Seen some pictures via the online X feeds and things of like that. And so a new surface, a faster surface probably, is being put down, and pretty much as today, I would assume they're full go and able to get out on it as they work pretty tirelessly throughout the early months of May and June and the early part of July to get that all completed. And should be an interesting camp. There's a lot of things that we'll talk about with Jim once he gets a chance to come back after watching camp here a little bit later. Kyle Needenriep will be up here in a little bit. We'll talk to Kyle about high school football preseason. talk about Mr. Football candidates. And I'm always amazed each and every year in the state of Indiana, the amount of talent there is in the high school ranks in and around Indy, up here in the Northeast in Fort Wayne, up through the region, and then, of course, the southern part of Indiana. We'll get Kyle's take on who he thinks are Mr. Football candidates as well today. We were hoping to get Allie Sanzenbacher on, and Jim talked about their Giving Day importance today, so she was unable to join us. I'm sure we will get her on at a later date. She's married to Dane Sanzenbacher, the former wide receiver there at Ohio State, former Bear and Bengal player. Allie being an Indiana grad, of course. And so there's kind of an interesting dynamic there that hopefully when she gets the ability to come back on, we'll get a chance to talk a little bit more about that in itself. But today, as of the discussion around the Colts and some of the things that they're facing in camp right now, it just amazes me how the Colts are, it seems to be they are injury prone, and it's something that has plagued their lineup for the better part of 3 years. Right now in camp, they have 6 injuries, and half of those injuries are from the secondary. So you got these track athletes out there running, and they've got hamstring problems. Now, Jalen Jones had an injury yesterday that I think they're waiting to update. He went down grabbing his knee and calf, which is never a good sign. And he can't afford to really miss any time in reps, as that secondary is pretty good competition there. And I saw in chat, Brian said that Jones went down with a hammy. So I know there was some question marks there earlier when that occurred, that he kind of grabbed his knee as well in that regard. But those are always very touch and go. Hamstring injuries, whether it's a pull, and of course it gets to being overly serious when you get into the tear aspect of it. But even a slight pull, it's something that could ultimately end up plaguing you for the better part of the year. And so the Colts have this, I don't know if it's a jinx there at Grand Park or what, but it seems like every year in camp, they have these injuries that ultimately end up impacting their first part of the season. But you've got half of your secondary that are, what we would do is put them in yellow shirts, and that way they're identified as injured. But you have Juju Betts is out with a hamstring. Jones, as we just discussed, in his tweaking of a hamstring. And then David Long, a groin. And all those guys are missing significant snaps for each day that they're not actively participating in the team segments, because they're all involved in being the next man up in their secondary. And if you're over there in the tub with a trainer, you're not getting reps, which means you're not competing, and you become a forgotten piece. And in the NFL, which stands for not for long, your days are numbered if you're not getting on the field, because they're going to, at some point, have to trim their rosters down. And usually it's the guys they don't really know much about. So important for those 3 in the secondary to get back out there as well and get themselves in a position that they hopefully to get out there and competing. The other big story out of Indianapolis is the signing of the big man, Bernard Ramey. He's out of Central Michigan by way of Germany, if I'm not mistaken. He signed a 4-year extension the other day for a cool $100 million. I have never seen that amount of money get handed out to an offensive lineman, let alone a young offensive lineman in terms of his years out of college. But he signed a 4-year extension at $100 million. And I don't doubt that he's a really, really good offensive lineman. Man, that's a lot of dough for the guys up front. And you know what? It's those guys that are really good offensive linemen. And, you know, they're worth their weight in gold, especially guys that can play multiple positions, whether it play the right side or left side. Those guys are worth it. And why they may not get the notoriety that the skill guys get in and out each and every day, there's no question that their value is always appreciated by the GMs and the front office, as well as the coaches that surround them. So while it may seem like a huge amount of money, and it sure is, the value that they bring as a good offensive lineman is something that like I said, is worth its weight in gold. So they got that set up. Hopefully that offensive line will gel and be as daunting as a offensive line that they can be, and provide the protection as well as the running lanes for a Jonathan Taylor to get him going early, because I think it'll be imperative for the Colts this year, irregardless of who they have at quarterback, is to really get their running game effective. Because the more they can have an effective running game and couple that with a passing game that maybe utilizes the RPO system or the quick passing type of deal to minimize the big sacks that you want to avoid at all costs, it gives their offense a chance to hang their hat on something. And the Colts last year just did not have that consistently of a play that they could hang their hats on, and plagued them all last year. When it came to an offense that was, could look dynamite in one full swoop, and then the next they could look like they couldn't even compete against the Sisters of the Poor. I mean, that's how their season kind of went last year. So it's going to be one of those things that the Colts hopefully will get themselves in a position out of the gate to have a season that will get them in the right direction, and not have a season where they're kind of hot and cold as they have been in the past. The other injury out of Colts camp, Michael Pittman was dealing with a groin issue, and I don't think it was anything overly serious in that. So in that way, the Colts are off and running, and now the Indiana Hoosiers are off and running in their camp as well. The other thing that is out there in the world of sports today, Major League Baseball, the trade deadline is fastly approaching. And there's a lot of talk of some trades that may be popping into the transactions area. I know the Mets are actively in the market as they are looking to upgrade their outfield. They have been looking at the Lewis Robert Jr. from Chicago and Baltimore Orioles outfielder Cedric Mullins. So the Mets are actively in the market. Robert's hitting about 280 right now. And over the last 7 games, I should add there, 6 RBIs and a home run in that stretch. But the White Sox, it's not clear whether or not they are willing to let go of Robert Jr. And, but, you know, everybody has a price in that regard. The Yankees are looking to add a closer into the bullpen. It always seems the Yankees are looking for that one guy that gives them the ultimate chance to come out on top, and it always starts in your bullpen. So they need some closer help. So that's another one to keep an eye on. And then the Twins are in a potential trade, but we'll have to wait and see with all the makeups of all of that when it comes to all the different trades that could potentially hit the wires here of the different teams. Cubbies, 62-45 right now. Having a heck of a year thus far. They're getting ready to take on the Brewers today, who are, I'd take that back, 62-45 are the Cubs. And I think the Brewers are 64, 63, 43 overall. That's a 210 pitch today for the Cubbies. So a lot of things happening in Major League Baseball as of right now, as we head into the transitional months of August, as football will start taking center stage, both NFL, college, and high school games will be taken on pretty shortly as they get ready to get going. But a lot of things happening in the sports world today. We talked a little bit about Indiana and their practice kicking off today. Jim Coyle out at the stadium. We'll bring back later on to talk a little bit more about what he saw, some maybe different storylines to keep an eye on through camp. There really isn't too much controversy when it talks about their roster depth. Offensive line, probably one of the strongest they've had in a lot of years. So that's going to be impressive. Group of young men. And Coach Bobstead and what he's done over the last few years with the offensive line that has been in some respects a makeshift offensive line, now probably has a good, solid 2-deep roster of guys that he could play at any position. That's going to be an interesting dynamic there to see who the top 5 are. We know Coogan, who came in for Notre Dame, will definitely probably be that starting center and be the anchor. And they can be a group that can be anything that they need to be in terms of pass protecting, what they did well last year, and also the running game for Indiana, who last year they had a pretty solid running game. And so it'll be interesting to see what Hemby brings to the table. BB Jr. We know what Black can potentially do as a running back who was played sparingly after about 4 games last year because they kind of whittled it down to their top 2, but it's a good backfield loaded up again with those 3, Black, Hemby, and BB Jr. And the best thing about all 3 of those guys is they can catch the ball out of the backfield. So that is one of the key components there. And then on defense, I guess you could say the biggest question mark is replacing the CJ West up front. And some new names up in there. You have Tucker coming back from a year ago, had a great year. Kamara moving over to that, what they call a stud linebacker position. He can be that outside linebacker type in a 3-4 or put his hands on the ground on a 4-man front and provide him opportunities to get to the quarterback from different levels, which I think will be a great thing to see how Brian Haynes, the defensive coordinator for the Hoosiers, implements him into the different packages that they have. And they also have a secondary that I think also is deep and can be a secondary that can play that man-to-man style of defense that Bryant likes to play. Didn't do it much last year. They felt that they were about one guy short at corner that could do it consistently. So you saw a lot of different fire zones last year from Indiana. Don't think that will change. I still think that's a part of their scheme. But in the end, I do think they'll maybe bring a little bit more heat where they can get that extra body in the box. Again, thanks for joining us here today on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith. We're going to step aside, take another break, and get ready for Kyle Needenriep to come in, and we'll talk with him a little bit about high school basketball, high school football. But before we all do that, let's take that break, and we'll see you back here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So, no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. I'm the guest host today, Shannon Griffith. Thank you for joining us here today from wherever you might be, such as 1380 The Fan up in my hometown, of Fort Wayne, Indiana, as we get ready up at 1380 The Fan to get ready for high school football, as they are the flagship radio station for high school football in and around Northeast Indiana. You also have the Ref down in Evansville, 97.7 ESPN. And then don't forget, up in the region, WJOB. We thank you for your listen and viewship and being a part of Indiana Sports Beat Radio via the airways, and of course in here on YouTube at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. You can like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate that very well, as my show of the Hoosier Tailgate as a part of the Hoosier.com, powered by On3. Don't forget about the $1 first month, 50% off for the rest of the year. I am told that will be ending soon. So get over to the Hoosier.com to pick up all that subscription, to get all the information that you can get on your Indiana Hoosiers. Especially now that camps start in football. You got basketball heading to Puerto Rico here shortly, and get a good chance to see them. I think they have their practice coming up this afternoon. So the excitement in and around Bloomington today has got to be an all-time high, and an opportunity for the media to get out and see both football and basketball today. I'm sure a great group of coverage is happening, and I know the Hoosier.com has got you covered A to Z there with Zach Browning, as well as Jim Coyle, and then, of course, Alec Lasley having the basketball practice today that he will out cover with some other of the Hoosier.com staff. They'll have you covered and updated about basketball and football today. They're at Bloomington and the Indiana University Hoosiers. Last night, I also forgot to add my team, the Red Legs, Cincinnati. They fell to 56-52 on the year, lost to the Dodgers last night. They have them today again, I believe, at 7:10. So Cincinnati, better, but not quite up there yet with the Dodgers and Cubbies in that regard. But so far, so good with that aspect of things, with the new manager in town, with everything. We're waiting on Kyle to pop in here shortly and join us to talk about Mr. Football candidates in and around the state of Indiana as we get ready for high school football to take full swing as well. High school football games are going to kick off the week of, I want to say the 23rd or the 18th, somewhere around there. I think it may be the 18th, but that's right around the corner as well. A lot of good high school athletes in the state of Indiana again this year. I mean, Casimir Hicks, an Indiana commitment out of Warren Central, very dynamic player, DB wide receiver. That's the other thing with the Hoosier.com subscription. Every time a commitment is made to Indiana football, I should specify, I will give a breakdown of that young man and how he kind of fits into Indiana's thought process. But Casimir Hicks being one of those guys, very good athlete, played DB wide receiver. Indiana is definitely looking at him from a defensive perspective, very good player. Then you got Jeremy Finch out of Warren Central, who's going to Alabama, up in the region. Trevor Gibbs, a tight end linebacker that is also an Indiana commit. He may be one of the better ones that is flying under the radar as of right now. But you add on to that, Heritage Hill has some great players as well. With Goldsberry, their quarterback / athlete. But we're going to get Kyle in here right now, and I'll bring him on in. Let me get everything switched up there. Kyle Needenriep, how you doing, bud? It's a nice, sunny, hot Wednesday here in the state of Indiana.
It is. When's it going to cool off? That's my question.
Well, I saw a report that either tomorrow or Friday it's supposed to start being a cool down into the 70s and 50s at night. So we're going to fly from summer into that fall, maybe here a little sooner than we thought. But right now it is hot, and we got everything rolling now with Colts camp off in full swing. We've got Indiana starting their camp season today. Purdue, for the Boiler fans that are out there as well. Notre Dame, you name it. Soon the high school will be kicking it off as well here in another, probably a week here before they get started with their true football preseason. Is that a fair assessment, I think?
Yeah. But anymore, it's like you can basically practice throughout the summer. So the delineation from the actual, season practice to the summer has really kind of shifted more towards, you're able to kind of be together more, which I think is good, probably for the most part. It can lead to burnout, I know, for coaches sometimes, but and hopefully not players. I think most coaches are smart about understanding that, but I think it will be. Yeah, it's coming up soon on the actual practice dates, or if you look at the IHSA calendar, there's the actual practice dates, but essentially everybody is kind of knows what they got at this point.
Well, in Indiana, and one of the biggest things that in the Midwest, that when you talk high school football and compare to what a player in the southern states of our great country, they have spring ball. And in the Midwest, there was really no spring anything. And that really put kids behind the 8 ball when it comes to their development. A kid in the southern states would be that much better in terms of number of practices they've have gotten in before they're, recruited and what. But now in Indiana, it's pretty much a year-round endeavor in high school football. And that's not to say they're any different than basketball or whatever, but I do think it has had a major impact on the quality of high school football that we see in the state now, because they're being able to, compete at it, weight room, on field, all that good stuff. 7-on-7 leagues, 7-on-7 tournaments, has made the high school football in the state of Indiana really good. And it's evident by the number of commitments that we have to P4 schools within the state of Indiana, and not just Indy or Fort Wayne. You got kids in the region, you got kids down south. What I wanted to talk to you today is the Mr. Football candidates. I know that you had kind of put out an article here on, what was it, the other day, I believe, where you kind of broke down who you thought were some of your candidates for Mr. Football. Kind of enlighten us here of that list of players, because when I was looking at it, you got kids going to Alabama, Oklahoma, of course, Indiana had a couple, but there's quite a few kids that are candidates for Mr. Football, but are P4 type of players.
Yeah. And I think it was last Friday actually that came out, but and I kind of did this at the end of last season after Mark Zachary won, kind of looking ahead to next year, and I don't, during the season, you're not paying much attention to like who could win it next year. So at this point, I was kind of, but Jet Goldsberry really jumps out to me. And you look at, before I do this every year, I kind of go through the history again of like, what's kind of some of the factors that maybe you can look at that annually are pretty important. One of those is definitely, winning state or being a state contender or making the state finals. Most times it's winning state is pretty good, jumping off point for players who have a chance to win the next year. And that happened with Mark Zachary. I'm not saying he wouldn't have won anyway, but I think it helps. But a lot of times that's a good, good starting point. Obviously those players are really good. So they, there's a reason why they played on state championship teams, but Goldsberry, to me, he won a state title last year at Heritage Hills in Class 3A. He committed to Ole Miss earlier this month. More as a, he's not going to play quarterback at college, but he's going to be a defensive back. But he puts up big numbers. That's another thing is, playing quarterback, receiver, running back. Those positions are going to put you in position to gain stats and those sorts of things, which is important. As well, but he's put up big numbers as a quarterback and on the defensive side. Running and passing are about equal for him, more than 3,000 of each for his career, yardage wise. So, he's a guy I would look for, and Heritage Hills is moving up to 4A this year, so that's another thing to look at is. Their route changes a little bit, but honestly, coming out of that area, 3A is so strong. I don't know if that even hurts them at all.
No.
They're
pretty good.
Yeah. They're and Tyler Ruxer is another name you mentioned. Oklahoma commit. He's the guy. He's definitely a different type of athlete. So that could for Tyler probably hurts him a little bit. He's on the same team with another top candidate, but those guys both are very good players. Ruxer going to Oklahoma, and and some other names. I think JJ Finch deserves to be mentioned. I don't know. Playing. Strictly defense is going to be really hard to win the overall award, but I can't imagine he won't put up big numbers again going to Alabama. I had a lot of offers, led Warren a super defense last year, but he actually led him in tackles from his defensive end / tackle spot. He had 92 and 24 for a loss, which is crazy against the schedule they play. But, again, that'll be hard. I think he's a little bit more he's in the mix, but the offensive guys will have, more of an advantage, I would say. Casimir Hicks from Decatur, again, state champion last year at 5A, moving up to 6A this year. So that's different. They'll be Decatur. And I know from talking to those guys a little bit, it's like, they feel strongly like they have a chance, but also the depth, they're a school of like, roughly, half of some of the other 6A by enrollment wise. So, you're fighting an uphill battle a little bit from a depth, overall depth perspective, but Hicks is as good as, he's very fast, elusive. He puts up big numbers rushing and receiving, and also in special teams. So he'll have a chance, I think, going to IU, which I think helps his case staying in state. He'll have more of a visibility that way. And then another name I think I put on my radar is Deacon King from Westfield, who played both sides of the ball at the 6A level, which is impressive. He's more of a, he could play both at, he could play either one at Northern Illinois, probably safety, but could play running back. He said the coaches told him that. So he was over 1,400 yards rushing, 18 TDs. Westfield likes to run the ball, so I think he's going to put up good numbers again. They always have a good offensive line. They do again this year. And he'll play some defense as well. So two-way guy at 6A level who played in the state finals last year, I think deserves mention. But, you can go through the Trevor Gibbs from Crown Point's a linebacker, another defensive guy. Josh Raines at New Pal is maybe not the highest recruited guy, but also won a state title and put up huge numbers rushing last year. New Pal's another team moving up. A lot of these teams moving up. They're in 5A this year rather than 4A. So those are kind of the names I had at the top. And then, there's some other guys out there definitely who have a chance at it that I included in that article, but that's probably a good starting point for the top candidates.
Yeah. And when I was reading the article, and then of course you kind of have the, like you just stated, the other young men that to kind of keep an eye on. I was just floored of the amount of talent again in Indiana when it comes to football, and the number of kids that have P4 or group of 5. They're all D1. And you talked about Gibbs. He's an Indiana commit as well. And he may be one of the, underrated in some respects players in the state. He is a really good football player. He plays tight end. He's got really good hands. And then of course at linebacker, he's just all over the field making plays. So, and then you don't want to forget about up there is the, you had Ben, is it Novak out of Andrean?
Yeah.
He's an offensive lineman. He's a Wisconsin commit. He's a really good player. I've seen that kid play. He's been a 3-year starter for them, I think, maybe. So there's a lot of talent up and down the state of Indiana. Mr. Football, I'm not even sure how you pick one. I mean, you made a criteria there talking about, maybe a two-way player has a little better chance than somebody that's just a, defensive player. You talked about Finch Jr., the kid out of Warren Central, and he's an Alabama commit.
Right.
I just think what Indiana has done in terms of practice allowances, coaches being able to work with kids now, more hands-on throughout the school year and in the summer months, has just made the football in Indiana, and coaching for that matter, 10 times better than it's ever been, I think, in terms of what we're seeing on Friday nights.
Yeah, I think the coaches are also smart about, it's not like when we played where you go out and just bang heads for 2-a-days for the first 2 weeks. And I think coaches are smarter now about, and some of these guys, too, coaches have to be smart. You're going for individual awards, but you don't want to beat guys up early in the season too much. So, you may see the guy like, Trevor Gibbs, he may not have the biggest stats early, or play both sides all the time, just because you're trying to make sure everybody's healthy for the postseason. Or Deacon King's another example,
right,
from Westfield. You're going to try to limit his snaps a little bit, I think, or Casimir Hicks too. So you don't want to burn them out completely and get them hits, too many hits. That can wear you down too. But yeah, it's a good class, I think, and there will be guys emerge who maybe we're not even discussing here today, I think, and that's kind of the fun of it. This is kind of a starting point. I enjoy kind of it helps me to kind of get stuff together and put these lists together and stuff like that. And I always feel bad. There's probably people left off who should be on the multiple lists that we do, but but that plays itself out. And I hear from people, it's good. I don't take offense to it. It's helpful to learn, and you don't always get everything completely right, but it's a good starting point, I think, for fans just to see who's out there.
Yeah, no question. Like I said, when I was kind of doing my own little research here as I prepare for the broadcast that we do up here in Fort Wayne on 1380 The Fan, it's refreshing to look at those lists again, especially in areas that maybe you don't get to call a game until maybe you see them in the state tourney, but to be aware of the kids and who is where and things of that nature. So it's a great list of talented kids from A to Z, and who that guy may be who ultimately gets crowned Mr. Football, we'll wait and see. But it is a great list of players, including those that are kind of in that honorable mention category that you had there. So, turning to the season here now, and you talked about two-a-days. These kids don't even know what two-a-days is. Yeah. They don't do two-a-days now. I mean, we were so beat up in our day when we had two-a-days and in the middle of in the heat of the day type of deal. This year, again, talent-wise, in terms of the teams, who are some of the top teams in that, Indianapolis area this year that you see again, being the teams that could win not only their conference, but make a trip down the road to Lucas Oil.
Yeah, that's something I'm probably going to be working on more next week, is kind of getting the teams aligned and the preseason rankings. And I haven't even got to that yet. I'm kind of, but you have a general idea, I think. And I love 6A, I love football completely, but 6A is especially fun to me to see, how Brownsburg, you start with the defending champs and they have 10 starters back on offense alone. So
right.
The defense is missing a lot, and that'll be the question mark for them. So I think you start with them just because they are defending champs. They have a very explosive, veteran offense, I would say, a line and skill positions. But they also caught, they definitely, and I think they would definitely say this, is they got fortunate a lot of games last year in the tournament, which you have to have happen. Credit to them, but they won a lot of close games too. So it wasn't like they were just running over everybody like some champs we've seen in the past. But I would say Brownsburg's probably the team to start with. But then you have a lot of teams chasing them. I think Westfield, again, just very solid. They do have a new quarterback, so that's a little bit of a difference for them. I always look at returning quarterbacks as a big key to team success, especially in 6A. Center Grove, I think, is going to be outstanding. They always are, but I think this will be a better team than last year. And then, you could go down the list, but I think Lawrence North's a team too. They were 11-1 last year. They're ranked number 1, lost that heartbreaker to Brownsburg in the regional, but how do they kind of reload from what they had last year? And they do have quite a bit of talent back, including running back. Again, a new quarterback, but a talented kid. And then, a receiver like Monsoon Sales is not, you don't find guys like that ever. He's a 4-star for a reason, 6'5", and can really go get it. So they've got talent at important spots. So I think they're another team that'll be interesting. The normal Warren Central BD, those teams will be really good again too. But yeah, 6, and then Decatur, of course, moving up. That'll be probably one of the big question marks, is how do they play in 6A this year? Compared to being 5A in the past. So that'll be a big one too to watch and see how they do with all the talent they have coming back.
Well, I appreciate Kyle coming on today and giving us some insight there into high school football as we get rolling here. And you can get all of Kyle's articles there at the Indianapolis Star Sports section. Kyle, have a great rest of your day. Appreciate you being here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. And we'll keep in touch and get you back on here in the future.
Hey, no problem, Shannon. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, partner. Kyle Needenriep from the Indianapolis Star joining us there. We're going to step aside, take another break here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Welcome to Indiana.
Hello, everyone. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you, as always, for listening to our content. But for more in-depth coverage on the Indiana Hoosiers football, basketball, and recruiting news, go to thehoosier.com on 3. Now with On 3 and great national writers like Ari Wasserman, Andy Staples, and Steve Wiltfong for football. Pete Nakos, J.B. Shaw, and Joe Tipton's constantly breaking stories on the basketball side. And the local coverage from Alec Lasley, Kyler Staley, and Zach Browning. You can catch something new every day at thehoosier.com. Go there. Sign up today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith, sitting in for Jim Coyle, who is out at the kickoff of the Indiana Hoosiers open to the 2025 fall camp there in Bloomington today, as well as the other thing that will be going on later today there on campus is the Indiana basketball will have their open practice as well as they prepare for their trip to Puerto Rico here in a couple weeks. They'll get a 3-game set there. I think 2 of which is against a Serbian national team. But Indiana football, Indiana basketball today, you can't beat it. And not only does Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat Radio have you covered, the guys over at the Hoosier.com as well. Zach Browning is out at the football practice today as well. And Alec Lastly will be over at the basketball practice this afternoon. So look for some articles from them recapping today's festivities in Bloomington. You know, one thing that we forget about as we get started here with the season here for Indiana is also where Indiana's recruiting class stands as of right now. And their 2026 recruiting class is a very solid class, as we've discussed on countless shows prior to today. And, of course, you know, these kids are just committed verbally. They still may, in some respects, be taking visits to other institutions. But Indiana has, and Coach Cignetti and the staff have done a phenomenal job thus far putting together this class. And I've seen them ranked as high as, I think, 10, 11, somewhere in that category in the Big Ten for their class. I've never seen Indiana that high before. So they are getting some really good players, 22 commitments by far. And I believe nationally they're in the top 30, somewhere in the, you know, I think high 20s, if I'm not mistaken, with their national ranking. But done very well with that. They've got about 5 true blue chippers in that class. We talked about a few there with Kyle, with Casimir Hicks and Trevor Gibbs being a couple of the Mr. Football candidates that are committed to Indiana. So Indiana's focus now will be on the 27-28 class as they start moving towards game day visits for those kids that will be coming in and out of Bloomington this year. So recruiting on point, as Coach Cignetti would like to say, and nobody is surprised at where they're at in his terms. So they're doing quite well there on the recruiting trail, as well as some of the preseason award lists that some guys are on. The Bronco Nagurski preseason watch list. You have Kamara, Fisher, and Pons on that list. Outland Trophy that goes to the top interior lineman. Carter Smith is on that list as well. And then the Maxwell Award list, you have Fernando Mendoza and Elijah Sherratt. So Indiana heading into this season with a lot of momentum, recruiting, looking really good for 2026 as we focus our attention and energy here now to the season, where you've got several Indiana players on different watch lists throughout the college football landscape, I don't think there's ever been any other time in Indiana football history that you've gone into a season with this much excitement, expectation that is surrounding Indiana football, and then add to that basketball. So, it's just a great time to be in and around Bloomington as well as the state to get everything up and running to date with all the things that are happening. And there he is back from his first practice there at Indiana, trying to get his camera all set up, and we'll allow him to do that here real quick.
Yeah, can you see me and hear me?
I can see you and hear you perfectly. You've got great imagery. So,
well, if I'm in it, it can't be that great, but we'll go for it. We'll go with that anyway. But yeah, we just had our first open practice invite. You're not going to see a lot. It's just going through all the routines, the basics, linemen doing drills, and the quarterbacks and the receivers doing their drills, and the defensive line and whatnot. It's a lot of drills right now. Getting into that game shape. This is the beginning of getting into game shape. From carrying the helmet on your head for a few days, getting your neck strengthened, and then moving on. But I talk a lot about Curt Cignetti does not do live tackling much at all, which it was amazing last year because Indiana was a very good tackling team. Good. But more importantly, they got through the season so healthy. I mean, not that everything was perfect, but it wasn't because they were losing guys in practice most of the time. That'll happen, regardless sometimes. But boy, that model is really served Indiana well, I think. And look how well that defense performed. They were one of the best in the country.
Best in the country. Very few missed tackles due to poor technique. They were really good at that, considering they only tackled once or twice live. Looking at the calendar right here that I have, you're allowed, I think, 25, 26 practices prior to your first game.
That's not a lot, man.
No, but even Coach Cignetti has said that he never really uses all of them anyway. And I've only counted 22 practices that he is scheduled on the calendar, with a couple of scrimmages in there, which will be full padded. Now, whether it'll be a full tackle will be to be determined. I'm sure one will be a true 11-on-11, take them to the ground type of stuff. But again, you talked about their attention to detail today. That's what I called today. Today's an attention to detail day, and looking for guys not giving it their full, being complacent. This is a time that Coach Cignetti really stomps pretty hard on those that are not giving of their full capabilities in a day like today, because it is a bunch of pay attention to detail, because it's all
and it's also, you just mentioned, it's a place where to see somebody not giving their all. It's also a place to see somebody that is surprisingly doing just that. I don't want to be Al Bundy here, but a great reference: when I was in high school, my junior year, I was a wide receiver. Is what I was going to be. I was 6'1" and 165 pounds, man. But when it came to run the sprints during 2-a-days, I'm like, I'm winning every one of these. And I did. And it stood out because during practice, coach yelled at me, "Hey, you're Jimmy Coyle, what are you, tight end?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir." I never played tight end in my life, but ended up getting the starting job. It helped that my friend Bob Gregg, who was about 6'1", but also about 190, had gone on vacation and missed some practice, and boop. So I got to play tight end the entire year, which was cool. But back to wide receiver, defensive back the next year, more my style. But the point is, a guy can show himself here. Guys that maybe weren't expected to be that. This is your time to shine. This is your opportunity. Next man up. Should be on a T-shirt. I'm going to put that on a T-shirt, Coach. Next
That's
man
right.
up.
Well, and you've got in chat right now, you're a very fast runner, and they have you down as a 4.9. Five Lefts has you down at least a 4.9, so it's not too shabby for your.
I ran a 4.7.
Oh, looky there, 4.7. Well, Five Lefts is pretty close and all that, but
he's always on it, man. He's always on it.
I was talking prior to you jumped on the number of Indiana Hoosiers that are on preseason watch list. The Bronco Nagurski preseason watch list with Kamara, Fisher, and Pounds. Carter Smith.
And Aiden Fisher.
Yeah. Yep. And Carter Smith on the Outland Trophy watch list, which goes to the top interior lineman. And then, of course, Maxwell Award list, you have Mendoza and Elijah Surratt. So a lot of preseason acknowledgement of these young men in terms of some pretty prestigious football awards, as well as the Hoosiers start their fall camp today.
I was talking to Mark Deal. He's been a coach here and some other places, but he's been around IU football forever. And was talking about this. I was talking about that article that we were speaking of earlier. And he said, you know what? Nobody was talking about Indiana's schedule when we were in the Big Ten East, when they were playing Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State every year, and usually getting the best from the Big Ten West on top of that. Nobody was talking about how brutal Indiana's schedule was year in, year out. But now that they're winning, and those divisions have gone away, but it doesn't matter. You're still playing Penn State, Oregon, Iowa, a top 10 Illinois team, Wisconsin. Hey, man, it's like last year. You can't control. Who would have thought Washington and Michigan would have been down like that? They both played in the national championship game. So you can't. There's only so many things you can control. But all it takes is winning. All this crap top is crap. All Indiana has to do is win. Take care of business. Forget about those stupid non-con discussions. I don't care. Nobody will care at the end of the year if you take care of business when you need to take care of business. If you beat the top 10 Illinois team, if you go on the road and you beat an Iowa team, and then you go on the road and you either beat or give Oregon hell on the road. If you can go 5-1 in that first stretch, I don't want to hear any more talk about schedules. It needs to just be shut up. So there's that. And there's no point in us talking about it anymore. We're just beating the same stupid dead horse. But
no, like he said, like Curt Cignetti says, the talking season's over. The opinions are just that. It's all said and done. It's now time to focus your attention on to things that you have control over. And today's in a prime example. You have control over your own team, and individual players have control of their effort each and every day, and stacking days, as Coach Cignetti would like to say, in order to be in their prime position to go take on an Old Dominion team coming in here towards the end of the month. It's imperative that that is the focus and attention of these Indiana Hoosiers. What was the, I guess,
Kyle probably didn't get the link today, I'm going to assume.
He was on. I had him on.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, he came on.
Oh.
We talked Mr. Football, and we talked about the representation that Indiana had on his Mr. Football list. I'm always not surprised, but again, with Indiana high school football evolving where kids have more contacts with coaches and vice versa, the amount of talent in Indiana alone is quite astounding.
It's really starting to rise. Look at Warren Central last year alone. Look at that defensive line that they had. 4 Division I players, 3 majors, LSU, Indiana, and Alabama?
Well, Finch is going there. Finch Jr., who was a part of that very
Going to
good
Alabama?
defensive line. He has committed to Alabama.
Okay. One of them's going to LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And one's coming to Indiana.
Yep.
And then one's going to a G5 program, I believe. But still, this is what freaking high school has 4 D1 players on their front line. A normal high school. This is not IMG Academy we're talking about. We're talking about a community high school. Nuts.
High school football definitely on the rise in Indiana. Really good players that are being taught and coached by some really good high school coaches who actually get to work their craft more than they would have 10, 15 years ago. Has made a huge difference on the quality of Friday Night Lights in and around the state of Indiana, irregardless of whether you're a 6A school or a 2A school or 3A school, all around really good football. But we talked about that, and most of the time spent on that because there was quite a bit of number of kids that was with that today. What was the enthusiasm like of the Hoosier team as they took the field this morning as a group?
I mean, pretty much like you expect. It's the first day. You have to bring it, like you said. You've got to bring that. You've got to, and they're moving around. These sessions are. Everything is choreographed, scripted. Short sessions of particular drills. It's drill, but those drills are choreographed. Time. You've got so much time, and it's through repetition. Stop making it perfect. It makes it permanent. But that's what. And then they just move on to the next drill, and you've got to keep that energy up. Guys are moving around, running. You're not a lot of walking. Hey, water! Gotta get water here. It's just, it's boom. It's moving, and it's fun to hear. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, because I can hear it over the hill here. But it's whistles popping, some little bit of popping. So fun. It's here, baby. College football is upon us. We are 30 days away. Indiana plays its first game on August 30th. Crazy. Right here. Will it be a sellout now? That's going to be the question.
Yeah.
Indiana football fans, they've been waiting all year for this team to come around. Will this thing be sold out for that game, which those first 3 games we know are warm-up games. Let's just call it what it is, but same that most other places do. But will the fans come out to do that? That's the thing. Indiana football fans have to become football fans, not fans of big games. Because if you go to the bigger programs, hell, Alabama would get 90,000 for their spring game. So they're not playing anybody but themselves. So Indiana they've got to begin selling this out every game. I'm not saying that it won't. I don't know. It'll be curious to see because that'll give me an indication of how the fan base has grown. I know that it's grown. We all do, but those first 3 games, what's that like? Are they true? Oh boy, almost said that. Didn't mean to say that. Almost did a Woodyism. Don't want to do that. But are they really the football fans, or are they big game fans? And so we'll find out. But hopefully, plus it's tailgating. It comes with tailgating, man. So. Right. Basketball doesn't get that. Great thing, great time to come out. You see friends. It's a great environment. It's a great event to come out and tailgate, no matter where you are, all around the country. Tailgating is just a blast. It's one of the things that separates football from basketball, because, like I said, you don't have tailgating in basketball, and this is hours of people doing this, mostly before games, and it's a great American spectacle.
Yeah, and the last I had heard about the first game of the year, ticket-wise, is there was 10,000, I believe, still available for the Old Dominion game, which is a 2:30 kick. It is on Fox.
Old Dominion is a better team than people think, too.
They were picked third in their conference. They gave South Carolina all they could handle last year. South Carolina won 23-19. This is the team that Cignetti and staff are very familiar with as they face.
And isn't South Carolina one of the teams that some people were bouncing around about a potential CFP spot last year?
Yes.
And so there you go.
And nobody cared about what they did week one because their schedule, the way they played their schedule, they got better as the year went on and was playing really good football.
Most teams do.
Exactly. And that's what counts.
And that's why I don't think that these non-con games, when you're playing 9 conference game, mean diddly jack as long as you don't get beat. But it's what you do the rest of the year. It's what you do, where you do it, against who you do it against. I don't care. People like the SEC, they kept saying, well, they beat so-and-so and they beat so-and-so. I'm like, but you lost to Kentucky at home, and Kentucky was terrible. But you lost to Vanderbilt, and it's Vanderbilt. So, the losses were ignored, which blew my mind. And I'm like, no. You can't ignore that. A win does not totally eradicate a bad loss. But you know what? We've got months and months. The great thing is, all the way up through December into January, we're going to be talking IU football. How crazy is that? Hell, we've been talking about it all year. We never stopped. Never stopped. The recruiting was on fire. And now we're here at the start of the season. So it's great to have that basketball open practice today as well. I'll be over there in Assembly Hall later, bringing that to you tomorrow on the show, as well as on Indiana Sports Beat YouTube channel. But you can also go to thehoosier.com. Those guys are complete coverage of everything going on as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Alec Lasley, Zach Browning, all of them will have something up on thehoosier.com at some point today as well as tomorrow. But going back to that Old Dominion game, 10,000 tickets were still outstanding from what I'm understanding, but we've got a holiday weekend. Don't use that as an excuse. You got plenty of days to get up to the lake and close things down, but Old Dominion.
Why don't you buy them? I got an idea. You can buy them and give them away.
Absolutely. The Hoosier Ticket Project as well being one of those deals. That's what they will do. Don't forget to keep us on track on how many minutes into the hour are we? We are right now at the 29th minute of the hour.
Oh, okay.
10:29, or we're about 10:29, 10:28. So we'll touch.
Probably time for a break, isn't it?
Yep, we're going to take a break. As you had just read my mind, we're going to get out and take a break here, and we'll be all right back here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle and the coach, Shannon Griffith, right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy.
And that's the hard truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the hard truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back to the Indiana Sports Beat Radio here Wednesday, July the 30th, I should say. And waiting for Jim. There's Jim back on with us.
Believe it or not, the sun overheated the device, and I shut it down. I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to regenerate. Hey, now keep me on track when it is 40 minutes past the hour so I can get downstairs for the press conference with Curt Cignetti. Lots going on today. We'll talk to Curt and a basketball practice. I mean, gee whiz. It is a busy, busy day out here on the campus of Indiana University here in Bloomington. And so big week coming up too, though. I mean, football going on all over the place. You've got the rest of the Big Ten teams, Purdue. What are they going to be like this year? Barry Odom coming in and trying to make some changes there. It's going to take a minute, but they pulled in some good pieces. I'll be honest with you, I was surprised at some of the pieces they got. Now, one of the players they did get, though, was involved in a little bit of controversy. I cannot remember where he transferred from, but he also he transferred from a team to another team that they ended up playing each other in a bowl game, but he only was with the second team for like a week or two. But he apparently gave their quarterback all the defensive plays for his past team. So kind of a, I mean, it's not like it's against the rules, but that's a code. That's just a code, man, that you have. And that's why, we had all of the Connor Stalions business that went on a couple of years ago that still is Michigan is still dealing with because of that. But we'll see. But Purdue not expected to do much. I think that they finished last in the conference this year. I think UCLA is going to be a little better. They've got Tino Sunseri as their OC, who was here at Indiana last year. Indiana plays. UCLA comes to Indiana in the what I call the second half of the season in those second 6 games. About the second game, I think. So that would be the
Michigan State game, homecoming. They play
eighth
UCLA.
Game of the season.
Yeah, they play Michigan State coming off the Oregon game, and that's homecoming. And then the following week, UCLA makes a trip into Bloomington to play the Hoosiers. Tino having a homecoming. And you're correct. I think UCLA got themselves a pretty good quarterback or dual threat quarterback and Nico.
Was UCLA the most improved team in the conference during conference play last year? I mean, some people are going to say Indiana. No, Indiana was good from the freaking start. They just kept getting better. UCLA, they right after the Indiana game, they went to LSU in Baton Rouge and played them to a halftime tie.
Yeah. And
I think they got better as the season went along, and now they've got it. Tino and Nico Amalevin at quarterback. It'll be interesting to see what he does. But that's going to be. There's just so many different storylines this year. Luke Fickell brings his Wisconsin team to Bloomington. Luke Fickell's seat is it's a little warm.
It's hot.
It's as hot as this sun out today, baby.
And brought in a new offensive coordinator that maybe will be a little bit more focused in the run game, something that Wisconsin has prided themselves of being able to do in the Barry Alvarez's year and Coach Bobstead's era when he was there with all the homegrown farm kids right off the prairie there in Wisconsin. So
that's why that is such a key as to why Indiana. Well, first of all, it's a key as to why Curt Cignetti kept one man from the Tom Allen staff, one coach, Bob Bostaph. And That is a huge position, and he has really elevated that in his second season, or in this season coming up with Indiana, I should say, his second season with Cignetti. The offensive line, is it the best positioned on the group on the offense? I don't know that I can say that, because quarterback probably will be, but
Most improved, I would say.
There's no question. That most improved on the team.
Yeah.
That'll be without question. And one of the most in the Big Ten, I'm going to say, probably. And that's another thing. Indiana has at certain positions as receiver. I don't know that there's a receiving group duo in the Big Ten that's better than Indiana has. I don't know that there's a quarterback better, to be honest with you. Everybody's going to talk about Drew Allar and
Altemeyer
at Illinois, and of course, whomever is at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
He's anointed, And Michigan has a freshman quarterback. Indiana doesn't play Michigan, but that's going to be interesting to see how their offense rolls with a freshman at the helm, because it's important to Indiana. Michigan's one of those teams that's already perceived to be a top 4 team in the Big Ten, which means that looking at a CFP berth. So Indiana's got to get in front of either Illinois, Michigan, somebody like that to get in that conversation. And I just hope that all this crap talk about the schedule is not polluting the minds of the committee members. I hope they're smart enough to see through all of that, because, and I think that at the end of the year, like you said, nobody cares what happens in weeks 1, 2, and 3. It's what you do when you have to do it. And Indiana will have those opportunities amply this year. So got that going for us.
Yeah, no question about that, as far as the committee and what they look for and how they evaluate that. And you're approaching your time here where you probably need to get torn down and head down to Coach Cignetti and his first press conference of the year. And we're about up against the 10:45 mark here in about another 8 minutes, and we'll be wrapping up this Wednesday of the Indiana Sports.
I'll see you guys on the radio again tomorrow. But thanks, Coach. We appreciate you, and I'll check you out later, brother.
That's right, partner. I appreciate you, and anytime I can help, glad to. Absolutely. But Indiana is off and running in this 2025 season with a bunch of optimism and expectation as we head into the month of August here shortly. Old Dominion waiting, Kennesaw State after them, and then of course a game against Indiana State week 3 before the start of the Big Ten schedule, with Illinois and Brett Bielema and Drew Altemeyer coming into Bloomington in what will be a darn good football team against 2 teams that have college football playoff hopes, as well as shuffling and the Big Ten around a little bit. You never know what could happen with a team that gets hot and stays hot. And we found that last year with Indiana. And I do think this year they are better prepared to play against some of the upper echelon teams in the Big Ten, physically, mentally, of course. They will be well prepared after the Iowa contest with a bye week, and before they head to Oregon to play the Ducks in what is one of the most, I guess you could say, loudest stadiums within the United States, as well as the Big Ten. And I don't think there'll be an adjustment to the snap count, as Coach Cignetti has said last year when they tried to do some of that at Ohio State. It did not go so well. So a lot of big things happening today on the campus of Indiana University. Practice 1 in the books for the Hoosiers, and Jim Coyle will have you covered with all that from that press conference. And then later this afternoon, the Indiana basketball team will have an open practice as they prepare for their trip to Puerto Rico, where they will kick off August 5th against the Puerto Rican national team, and then 2 contests there against a Serbian national team. So they're 3 games set there, and you've got everything and anything happening in and around Bloomington. Make sure you stay tuned to thehoosier.com, get that subscription so you can get up-to-date information on everything that is happening, as well as tuning in right here to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. And also, this Thursday on the Hoosier Tailgate, I invite each and every one of you to stop by at 7:30 as we will look at the next 3 Big Ten Conference games as we do our Indiana schedule breakdown. We will look at the Michigan State homecoming, UCLA, and Maryland. 2 of 3 at home. They will head to Maryland as well after that 3-game gauntlet of Illinois, Iowa, and Oregon. I did that preview last week. I do think those 3 games will have an ultimate defining statement on Indiana's season and their playoff hopes. If they could come out of that 3-game stretch at 2-1 and be 5-1 or 6-0 overall heading into the Michigan State homecoming game, who knows what can happen for the Hoosiers for the 2025 season. But we'll wait to see. I invite you to come and join me Thursday night, 7:30, as we break down those next 3 games of Big Ten schedule play for the Indiana Hoosiers. I want to thank you all for being a part of today's broadcast here at the Hard Truth Studios, and thank those out in Fort Wayne in the Northeast Indiana area on 1380 The Fan, up in the region on WJBO, and then down in Evansville on the Ref 97.7 ESPN Radio. We thank you for being a part of the Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Until tomorrow, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and you've been listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. All right here with Coach Shannon Griffith. We will see you tomorrow. Have a safe and cool Wednesday. Good day, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.